I find even though the whole thing, we're just talking about outwitting the devil, Jessica. I don't know if you've got the book or listened to the audio. Hey, Callie. You got Jessica. Yeah, I was like, that's Callie. But Jessica. Oh, well, alias, whatever you want to choose. Because outwitting the devil, it's not about religion. It's actually about self. You know, like how you think around the angel and the devil on your shoulders and how we perceive the devil. It's really powerful. The audio version, especially when it's Napoleon actually having a conversation with himself. This is all the way back in 1938, so it was just after the book Think and Grow Rich came out, and the Outwitting the Devil, even though it was written in 1938, it actually never got released until 2011, basically because of how controversial it was. And the devil said to Napoleon, "You will not release this." And Napoleon's wife would not let him release the book. So it took a long time before it was released, but I really enjoy the audio because our perception around the devil with the voice and so on, he brings that, the person that's actually, I don't know if you call it narrating or anything else, but there's Napoleon talking to the devil and they're having this conversation. It's so powerful. Well, what came up for me when I was just listening to chapter 10, which is what we review in our Gold Star Leaders Call, was around mastering self. And Callie, you just said it's a bit like Jaws and sharks. Do you want to just elaborate on that?
Okay, I haven't read the book, but from just what you're saying with the ego and the evil and the angel, I was thinking it's a bit like Jaws and sharks. Like, you know, like people love sharks, but because of the Jaws movie when I was a 10-year-old or 12-year-old, the fear in me had me not even want to swim that often in the ocean. So it's a bit the same. I don't want to talk about evil because I'm swimming in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though all parts are us, because if we took evil as our ego, and our ego is mindset, or a mindset that believes that we should have it all, but then we come back to love and know we are already it, and that it already is us and there's nothing to want. But then, you know, like you could go all different angles, I guess. But anyway, so keep talking. I just added the Jaws bit because it reminded me of that.
Oh yeah, and it's actually perfect. I mean, anything that comes up at any point, feel free to just share, because that's the power of us coming together in the mastermind. And I can really relate with that, Callie, because I've had that challenge for several years with regards to the Jaws thing. And I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, there's a lady, I think she lives in Hawaii, and she swims with the sharks. And she was interviewed on TV, and she said, we've just got this perception based on the movie Jaws, which was really the original movie that created the sharks to just be terrifying beings. And they're not. They're actually beautiful in their own right. We've just perceived them to be something else. But it is when you see those teeth and you think, oh. Well, you've just written there, true beauty. Everything's got true beauty. And as we know, everything, when we look at the law of polarity, everything has a polar opposite side. So humans are beautiful, but they're also destructive. So it's a really powerful topic. And I know that when I was listening to this section, and I'll just bring it up. So this chapter 10 is about self-discipline. And what came up was the devil was saying to Napoleon, and remember, the devil's part of Napoleon, the person who is not master of himself can never be master of others. And he said, think of like the leaders of countries when they're trying to influence people to support them. I think Trump at the moment, there's all that stuff going through in regards to who's going to be in power in America. But here it said, to begin with, the ability to master self came down to three things. And you may find these three things very interesting. And bearing in mind, this is all the way back in 1938. And they constantly talk about, especially if you looked into Napoleon Hill in particular, they constantly talk about how Napoleon was far ahead of his time, far, far ahead of his time. So the three appetites for self-discipline are the desire for food, the desire for expression of sex, and the desire to express loosely organized opinions. So they're the three that came up: the desire for food, the desire for expression of sex, and the desire to express loosely organized opinions. So when you think about them, where they're talking about that self-mastery and the person who can master that, and bearing in mind when the book, Think and Grow Rich was written in 1937, when the book Outwitting the Devil was written, even though it was never published in 1938, it was very much a male-dominating time from a point of power. Females weren't viewed as equals back then. So whenever Napoleon's speaking, it's always about the man, the man, the man. But what do you feel about them? What's coming up based on those three, where they're saying to master them is really where you're actually in control of yourself? Is there anything coming up that people are thinking about?
Yeah. Is anyone else talking? When you said desire food, I just took it back to desire in general, because we all need to have a passion, or we wouldn't be living. Mm-hmm. And then when you said expression with sex, I thought that doesn't sit with me, because I don't see that as the number one important thing, as in sex. I definitely agree on expression, and I'm right into soul expression. So that's why I, like, food and sex are secondary to desire and soul expression, in my opinion. And so opinion, I saw it as a judgment when you said it, because if I've got an opinion, what's my opinion on? What am I mastering in my opinion? Is it a judgment I'm trying to master? Why would I want to master a judgment when I just want to be love, embodied, soul connected? So that was just what I got out of it. Yeah,
great share there, Callie. And you made me just think of something. I think I shared this at the weekend. I did a video on the science aspect of a product that I recommend. And the video that I did, I'd said right at the beginning, I'm not scientifically minded. In fact, I make decisions based on my heart and my gut. And trust my intuition. And in doing so, I chose to invest in the product, and I'm very passionate about it. And someone commented on the video on YouTube and said, and I said that right at the beginning, and somebody commented and said something down the road of, as soon as I heard I'm not scientifically minded and I make decisions with my heart and my gut, I didn't bother listening to anything else. Now, what was really interesting in that moment was, when I first read that, ego wants to come in and go, yeah, whatever. But I learned to respond rather than react. So I didn't even bother responding to it. I just took away. And then over literally over the last few weeks, and I've not been thinking about it, it just came up at the weekend. And whilst I was saying about this thing, literally what came out of me was that I realized in that moment of me saying that in the video, that I was being 100% honest and authentic. And the person who was watching that and who chose to comment that, my response now would be to that person, would you rather have somebody who's being honest to you and telling you that they're not a scientist, that they're not attached to that? Or would you rather have somebody who's being dishonest to themselves in order to try and sell whatever they're saying? And that's how I shared it. And I said, and in that moment, I felt so empowered because I realized that I had been honest to myself. And if somebody had said that on a video to me, I would actually give them the time, because I'd say, well, if they're confident enough to say that at the beginning of this video, there's a very high chance what they share after this is the truth. Because you wouldn't put yourself in a place of vulnerability if you weren't willing to share your own truth anyway. And that's what that was what came up for me, especially with what you just said then, Kelly. Albert, the thing's gone to you. Is there something you want to share?
Well, not at this moment. I'm more of a listener than a speaker.
That's so good, buddy. The yellow box kept going down to you, and I'm like, oh, maybe you're trying to come on. That's cool. What about you, Maya? Is there what are around those three? Did you hear those three areas?
I did. I'm not. So when you said them, the first two, I wouldn't say made sense, but they kind of, I could see how those would be factors. But the last one, I'm not really sure about. So I don't think I'm, qualified at this point to speak on this because I'm not very sure. But the food and was it expression of sex? How did you word that?
Yeah, he worded it as desire for food, desire for expression of sex, and desire to express loosely organized opinions.
The desire to express loosely organized opinions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I could see that just in the piece of what you just said, right? Of the guy just coming in and, off rip. Like, did you even listen to the rest of the video? Like, that's the first thing you heard, and you assume, well, he doesn't have the credentials to talk about it. But, I feel like the authenticity that you had, right? Like, I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you what I feel and what I've experienced with this product. Like, however you take that is on you. I do see how the expressions of opinions could be a very, I guess, important aspect of self-discipline or not having self-discipline.
And isn't it interesting how even when you look at the other comments on this video in particular, that the people who have watched it have said it's one of the best scientific videos they've seen that explains it. And yet someone chose literally within probably the first 30 seconds to make an opinion and a decision to say, I'm not going to watch this anymore because this person doesn't know what he's talking about in this example. So and I'm going to hold my hand up and confidently say, I don't know when, but confidently say there's probably been a time when I've done something similar in my early years, in my past. But I can't genuinely think when, because I was definitely brought up on the angle of do unto others as you do unto yourself. That was drilled into me from a young child. So, and as somebody, believe it or not, who was extremely shy and didn't really talk very much, a lot of that was just listening and behaving, and because I was terrified of my mother. But all of this has its own role, and going on, really, one of the things around the desire for food was how I wrote loads of notes. So how we fill the stomach with rich foods that actually, I'm going to say, fill the stomach with rich food, which feeds the taste, although stresses the organs. Overeating and wrong food combinations are the evils which cause auto-intoxication. How can a body filled with poison from food move with definiteness of purpose? You think about the power of that when we're especially around the mastering self or self-mastery, when so many of us, and there's no way we'd be on this call right now if we weren't craving to grow, to achieve more, to make an impact in the world for not only ourselves, but to make an impact now and to leave an impact. And as I am listening to this chapter in particular, there's just so much that's coming up for me, because I've been in a state, for me personally, where even though I've been in the health industry over 20 odd years, I've treated my body as the guinea pig. So I've gone and gone, well, how can I advise somebody on something if I don't know what that's like? So I've done different detoxes, I've tried different things, I've overindulged, and to understand what it's like to a degree. So I can't, somebody who would be classed as morbidly obese, I can't relate to that because my values would not allow me to go there. But at the same time, like for me now, I'm overweight based on the way that I look. But I've always had this perception from a very early age, not as a child, but very early age, that I should have a six-pack. Like, if you're healthy, you should have a six-pack. Like, that's what I believed for years. But it's not the truth. Because even though I don't have a six-pack right now, I actually feel I'm in the best health of my life. And that, in all fairness, and that, like I said, I feel, but I'm being challenged on, do I know? Because, I've got a bit of a gut on me at the moment, and these little things, but that's judgment to self. But I feel amazing. I feel great. The way I think is far better than ever. The relationships, the communication, everything's better than it's ever been, which therefore is filling my cup more. But yet the foods, and when Beth, my partner, was listening to the chapter, she laughed because she thought about the foods, especially when you're going through times which are emotionally challenging. We tend to shift towards emotional eating. And I went 2 years without drinking alcohol. And in January, I went on a trip driving down the East Coast with one of my mates from England, and we drank every day. And since then, I've drank every day, even at home. And I never used to drink at home. So it was kind of like what I didn't drink in 2 years, I made up for over the last 7-8 months, just like getting it all in. But at the same time, and that's auto intoxication, which it hasn't slowed me down in regards to my growth. My growth's been exponential. It's been huge. But at the same time, where could it be if I hadn't have done it? Or did I need it in this part to help me get to this place? But now I'm awakening to it and going, I don't need it anymore. I need to let go of that to really fly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Martin, it's, you said you always give me so much and I don't write notes. Tony needs to be here for my notes, but it reminded me at the beginning. I remember whatever session that was that we had where we talked about values, and I remember us talking about money and how people, if money is not one of your top 3 values, So I, of course, at that night, I think I just reevaluated, what my values were, because before that, I'm sure they were based on, what I've been told. And I remember you saying that health was one of your values. And I thought about it, and it's really funny that, I had the conversation, I guess, with myself, but I remember saying that I didn't want health as one of my values right now, because I know exactly what that actually means. Like, food has always been my go-to. Like, I love food. Okay, like when you talk about indulging and emotional eating and all of, like, I love food. So like for me, even starting this year being vegan and being plant-based, it's been such an eye-opener for me, because it's like all of those things that I used to indulge in that I know were not good for me, I now can't, right? So it takes that piece away. But vegan is not, it's healthier, right? But it's not healthy. They have I know all the vegan candies. I know the vegan chips. I went to a vegan restaurant earlier. I got a vegan slice of cake. I got the pound cake, and then the key lime. Like, so it's, in that aspect, it's still a part of me, and it's something that I do want to change. And I know once I make that a value, I'm going to have to do it. But I'm trying to, just slowly inch it in there. But I can definitely get with the desire for food. Like, that's always been something big for me. Food has always been, you know, people, you know, even in living in Texas, like everything's bigger in Texas. They say that, you know, everything is like, the plates are huge, the servings are huge, everything is huge. And the last part that I want to kind of talk about that I just thought about, I was watching a movie. It's called You Again. I watched it a while ago. I think it's made in like 2010. But there's a part in the movie where the dad, they're sitting at the table and he has a blindfold on, or he's about to put the blindfold on. And he's like, you know, why are you doing that? And he was like, there's a study that shows that you eat more, you eat with your eyes, right? So if you have the blindfold on, you'll eat what you need and then you'll stop, not eating to have the plate, you know, be gone. And even watching it and I'm eating, and I'm like, was I really hungry? Like, did I eat all of this food on the plate? And then I'm thinking, well, because I'm vegan and they're just vegetables and I need to, and so, you know, that whole thing. But yeah, I definitely get with the desire for food. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. And I can relate from the vegan side. I'm not a fan of us putting ourselves in boxes, like with vegan, and I'm confident we were all in the same opinion. I mean, I use plant-based, but when you go to a restaurant or anything, you say vegan, then they've got some level of understanding. But yeah, I went plant-based back in, crikey, must be 5 years ago now, easily, from a heavy meat eater and fish eater. So 7 meals a day, every one of them had some form of meat pretty much. And that was what my education was. And just started to realize that, one, the planet can't be sustained eating that kind of level of food. 2, the body is under so much stress. And 3, the food isn't actually that great. So I have to say, in 2018, I went raw plant-based. And that was when I really shifted, like consciousness really like just rose through the roof. And one of the reasons is because I'm just, me and the kitchen and I do not get along. I'd rather just go in, chop it. I'm like, the body does not need food, it needs nutrients, and that's all I need. So it's like you say, it's interesting listening to, and it goes back to what we were saying before around number 3, around the opinions. It's interesting listening to people as to where they are with it all, because when I stepped into a group, I think it's called Vegans in Perth, and one of the guys I got to know owned a cafe up the road, and this cafe is an organic cafe. So it's not a vegan cafe, it's an organic food cafe. So organic smoothies, foods, and so on. And in there, you can go and get a vegan meal. So I went in and I said, I just had a beautiful plant-based meal, thanks to the owner, and took a picture and posted it in the Vegans in Perth, because one of the things that you'll notice when you're going plant-based is whenever you find somewhere that's good, you share it with the community so they can go as well, because people are always looking. And 5 years ago, especially in Perth, where I am, it was hard to find anywhere that was really doing it and was good. So, and price reasonably as well. So anyway, I took this picture and I posted it till I got this onslaught from a couple of people who were like, look at the state of all that meat in the fridge or the freezer or whatever. And I was like, isn't that interesting? The post was about, this is an organic cafe where you can go and you can get whatever you like and you can get your vegan meals as well. And yet you're choosing to come in and attack the post that I've taken the time to share, attack the owner and what he and his wife are doing. And also your attitude towards the way that you're expressing about veganism. You cannot create change through dictatorship and bullying, especially when it's supposed to be a conscious shift, which is about the animals. And about I don't believe veganism is about health. I genuinely don't, because most people I've found actually are coming from the angle of it's about the animals, which isn't a problem. I'm all for that, but they're focusing on the animals first, and we can't help the animals without helping ourselves first. And the angle, this is my opinion. And the angle that I've came, and I actually responded to these ladies in particular, and I just said, if for me to shift from a high animal diet to, or nutrition plan, whatever you want to call it, to go into vegetarian, pescatarian, vegan, whatever, I said that took me around about a year, and I'm a very strong-willed person. So to shift that, it took me quite a while. But at the same time, the way that I explain it to people and tell them my story, I don't encourage people, I don't tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing, is from a place of love. Not that they should be doing this and it's wrong of them to do that, because that doesn't create change, that creates resistance. So to share that and let people go, and I'd rather know that one of my best mates, for instance, I can go to that cafe, and if he wants to get a steak, he can have a steak. And my perception or my attitude towards him sitting there and having a steak and me having a plant-based meal just shows where I'm at, because I'm more bothered about me and my own opinion and judgment than I am about the friendship and what he values as well for himself. And it's really interesting where people are at with regards to, in regards to that topic, because it goes, as I said, back to number 3 around opinions. I'm going, well, is my opinion valid? Does it actually stand for anything? Or is it just me wanting to be heard and express myself so that people know where I stand? But really, is there any value to it? Does that make sense? Like, what is the value?
Yeah, it makes lots of sense. Makes lots of sense. And I'll call myself vegetarian / vegan for 5 years. And, but for me, it's about being one with everything, one with all animals, all people, the entire earth, the universe. So if I was talking from my angle why I'm doing it, it's about equality and oneness, because we're all animals. So, but that's me. Yeah, and so I don't judge anyone in my house either, because they eat meat and they're not where I am at my consciousness and wanting to be at about creation. Like, I could go for a walk and I'm one with the trees, the leaves, everything. So I want to be there where they don't even go walking and appreciate, like, they wouldn't be merging with the tree. So if they're not interested in being a vegetarian or a vegan, I'm not going to judge that, because they're at a different understanding to what me personally wants. And I'm just going to go with what I want, love myself. And if the ripple effect of that changes people in my house, then that, with no expectation, then so be it. And if it doesn't, no judgment, no expectation, so be it. I do know, though, it has changed my daughter, and she's wanting to be vegetarian. So, and that probably took a year of me eating what I'm eating. And in the last year, she's paid attention to that. She's 13. And so now she states she wants to be vegetarian. And so but I've still got no judgment in that. Like, if she changes her mind next week, and then, like, it's her choice. We've all got our own will. We've all got what we believe in, and it all comes back down into love and what I love in me, and what I want my cells to be. And I love how you do the water thing. Like, I'd love to know more about the water part. I'm only new to it, because I'd really love to exponentially change my internal cells into the vibration of that electrical vibration of water. Like, so, and you don't have to talk into that. I just thought, like, that's how passionate I am about being at the vibration of the universe in all the elements.
Yeah. And that's, I know that, and thanks for sharing that, Kelly. It goes back to Mahatma Gandhi's quote around "Be the change that you want to see in the world." And I know that, Albert, you've been shifting and wanting to go into creating and working online. And one of the big things, which is, it sounds like I'm going way on the other scale right now, but one of the big things that I've learned over the years is that so many of us are shifting more into this online world and this online space, and so many of us are quick to send a message rather than speak to somebody on the phone, or quick to send a message or speak to somebody on the phone rather than taking the time to go and catch up with them. I don't know what it was like for you guys growing up, but the street that I lived on, we just had neighbors coming in at any time. There wasn't like a text message, "Are you home? I'll come over at 10 o'clock." It was like people just rocked up, knocked on the door, and they came in and had a coffee or whatever and just chilled out. So, and I found certainly in my world, things have changed like that. And the big thing really has been with the online shift that's taken place. I ran in there and it was like online business, great. And it's about selling whatever it may be. And in some cases it's selling yourself. But one of the movies in particular, and you just mentioned the movie You Again. I've not seen it, Maya, but I made a note of it. And thank you for that. One of the movies that had an incredible impact on me, and I just could not stop watching it because I knew there was more that I needed to learn from it, was the movie Avatar. And I realized the power of connection, and how not only when they're like doing the science thing and they put the needle into the tree and they're like, look how it's all connected and so on. It was actually about this connection between us all. And even though we're not in a room together, we are in a room together. And the only thing that stops the imagination is saying, well, I'm on a computer, I'm in Perth, you get some of you in America, some of you in Canada, and so on, and blah, blah, blah. The focus is that we are in a room together. So I'm going to create that space, and we're here right now in that present moment. And that, when I look at the mastermind sides of it, and this is like, it's that self-mastery again. What am I allowing myself to think about, and where am I going with it in regards to, I don't feel any disconnection because one person might be over on the east side of Australia, or somebody's in Canada, somebody's in America. I'm like, this is me in the most powerful present moment. And with us being on this call right now, we are closer than we've ever been. Like that's truly powerful. And when we look at the online world, and certainly I can speak from my experience, which has been now over three years, but you could go back even further than that, but really focused on it for 3 years plus, is a lot of it has been what I have heard from marketers in regards to selling your product, selling yourself, and doing all this stuff. But it's always been really from a state of disconnection. And there's always been about the result. But really for me, the result is the relationship, because the ability for me to learn from each of you and every single other person I'm blessed to be on a call with, even if I'm not facilitating and it's just me listening, like Albert said, I just love to listen. It's those things of this information I am supposed to hear. What I choose to do with it is up to me. But I'm supposed to be here right now and learning from this information. Maybe I'm supposed to be here and sharing. And in sharing, I'm growing as well. And that's what Tony always says. When I'm sharing, I'm realizing I'm constantly growing. And it's not about I have to be heard and nobody else should have an opportunity to speak. It's, if there's something that I'm saying right now, it's because the universe is literally driving it through me, because the people who are in the room, or maybe if it's on a recording or wherever it may be, need to hear this as well. And you've been the chosen one to share it with them. And if you don't share it, not only are you missing out on that opportunity of empowering somebody else, you're missing out on the opportunity of empowering yourself. And that's, for me, that's why the masterminds are so important. There's nothing to sell. Like, there's nothing to sell. Grant, you could say, well, we're connecting, we're building our brands together and relationship and trust. But the reality of it is We're not coming on here and saying, right, you need to buy this now. Does this make sense in regards to the essence of the power of the mastermind? The ability for us to come to pick a topic and just talk and see where it goes. I mean, we're talking about self-mastery, and next minute we're talking about vegetarian, vegan and stuff like this. And it's just going where it needs to go. But really, when you look at it, the topics, they tie right the way back to what we originally started with. And that to me is the most powerful thing and the empowering part of it. And I really encourage you, if you've not seen Avatar for a while, to go and because you'll see a different meaning in parts of the movie from this kind of conversation. Because it really shifted me greatly when I watched it. And even with the farm, you know, we'll go off for a walk and I just see things differently than I did before, and have the time to look and just stare at some things. And it's amazing what we feel, even just looking at a pine cone or something. Just when you really truly take the time to connect, it's just on another level. And that, even when you think of the movie, and I'll be quiet in a moment, but even when you think of the movie and the scientists were talking about the power of the connection, and I think it's when the head scientist is having an argument with the manager and saying, you're missing its true beauty. It's got the connection to this connection to this connection. It's more of the connections than the human brain. And the guy just starts laughing at it and goes, what have you been smoking? And it's that thing of, some of us are getting it or have got it, and some of us are just totally closed off to it and going, it's just about the result. It's just about the money. It's about the power. And it's like, you're missing the true essence of this. You're missing the truth of it all, because you're just focused on the result you want. And that, I can only speak on my behalf. The power of these masterminds came together because of the Noble Goldman community. And it's free membership, and that's how it came about. And I was told, you can put in the product in here, we can help a load of people, you can earn a lot of money. And that's what I was introduced to it from. And do you know what? I've not even gone down that road of putting anything on there to earn a load of money, because the value I've got, the person I've become, the way that I think, the relationships I'm building, my communication, my belief in myself is growing exponentially. That is far more valuable than me focusing on just trying to sell a product. That in itself it's priceless. And there's people in my network who have noticed that and gone, I don't know what you're doing, but wow, there's some incredible shifting that's taken place, and that has taken place in you over the last several months. So it just goes to show that it goes back to what I said earlier on. We can hear all this information, but what are we choosing to act on?
Well, you go, Maya.
No, you're fine.
I was just going to say, with what you're sharing, it's spot on, because it's right where I'm at. So everything resonates. And I wrote a comment, but I can't think what I wrote. Let me have a look. Yeah, it was true self-worth. That's what I got out of it. On your last comment about what do you want to choose and value, it's about owning your true self-worth. And when you do that, you give permission for others to do the same without having to leave your body. The energy ripple effect does that. And so even in our choices, even if I choose chocolate today, if I love myself and enjoy the chocolate, I'm still choosing self-worth in a form. If it's organic, healthy chocolate, which I've been choosing. But like, even if you chose alcohol, like if you can just enjoy the time with the person you're connecting with, having a drink at home with dinner, like it's a connection thing. But it comes back into the connection internal of true self-worth. So it's whatever you put your own opinion on what self-worth means to you in your choices. And if you can love and accept every choice at that value of self-worth, then every choice is is correct anyway, even if it is a glass of wine tonight. And you know what I mean? Like every choice is still you choosing your self-worth and loving and accepting all of the choices.
100%. Just made a note of that one. Thank you. Maya?
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, you were talking about results, and I think I spoke about this before, but it's just when I think about goals in general, and I think about the new definition that I have for goals or how I look at them now. Like, goals are not to get, right? They're not for the result that you're getting at the end. They're for the process that you yourself are going through to get to that goal. And just being, even with me being in a new business and everything that I've really learned and has taught me to be process driven, and to not be emotionally tied to my results. Because, if they're up, I'm up, right? But if they're down, then I'm down. So to be more emotionally involved in the process and who you're becoming and how you're doing things and the impact you're actually making versus the money you're going to earn from doing that, or the house you're going to get, or whatever it is just, it's a very, I'm not sure what the word is I want to use. I'll use inspiring because that's all that's coming up right now. But it's a very inspiring way to look at life, to look at goals, to look at your results, to not focus solely on the end, right? That you're even, not really focused on the middle. Like the process you're going through to get there is what's most important to you. Once you get to the goal, it's like, oh, okay, well, now you have it. Now what? Right? But the person that you become in the process, or who you interact with, or the things that you learn, and the awareness that expands, I feel is most important. And to just be emotionally neutral when it comes to your results. Like, they're going to go up and down, and you're going to go up and down with them if you're emotionally tied to them. So, law of rhythm.
Absolutely, Maya. Yeah, absolutely. There's I often refer back to it. I don't know. Has anybody seen the movie The Shack? SHACK?
No, I think you said it last time too, though.
Yeah.
I need to look it up.
I often refer to it, and it's an incredible movie about forgiveness. But through it, there is one part where the guy, and I really encourage you to watch it. It was one of the most significant moments of my life watching that movie, and part of it said, where the guy says, where we going, and God is in human form through this movie, and you'll understand why it has to be like this when you watch it. Whether you believe in God or not, it's irrelevant. The message in the movie is really powerful, and this person who's supposedly God just says, don't forget to enjoy the journey. And because everything that's said in the movie is shown, because I'm a visual learner, is shown, it really, really sticks. And it helps you realize that even when I've spoken over the years many times about different things, and one of the things that I've often said to people is that we don't know what we don't know. We know what we know. And the thing is, we know what we know today because of our experiences, but at some point in our life, we never knew how to achieve them. We never knew how to get over the hurdle. When we were born, we didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to eat. We didn't know how to dress ourselves. We didn't know all these things. And yet we just do it today as a habit. We just unconsciously do it. So the subconscious knows what to do. And often it's like when driving a car. It's the subconscious that's driving the car, but the first time you get in it, and we all know, it's like, I'm going to do all this stuff, and now I'm going to do it, and I'm going to crash, and so on. But Bob talks about it in Bob Proctor in regards to you'd be driving down the road, you'd be doing your makeup now. I mean, I'm always doing my makeup while I'm driving. Well, the thing is that it's amazing how many times we put these barriers up into things that we haven't done yet. And I say to people, you're too focused on achieving the goal. Just focus on the actual journey of it all and the learning process of it all, because that's the beauty. And even when even when you put the destination in your GPS, if all you're focused on is I'll only be happy when it gets to that point, you're missing out on everything. Because I know for a fact, I live by the ocean. I'm about 30 minutes from the ocean. But I know for a fact that I'll go the ocean route. I'll go, and there's a point on what they call West Coast Highway, where you go past a few of the big hotels that are literally on the edge of the ocean. And then you go over this hump, and as you go over this hump, all you see right the way down is the whole coast. And it's just magnificent. And I've lived here 11 and a half years, and every time I go through that part, I'm just in absolute awe. Now, I could go the freeway and go a lot faster to get to the destination, but I'm going to enjoy this drive. It might take me 20 minutes longer, but I'm going to enjoy it. And I think for me, I can only speak on my behalf. For me personally, they've been the most empowering moments of my life that have helped shift a lot of it and actually slow down to appreciate that we're not here to just be born and get to the end where we pass. Like that isn't the goal. Because in all fairness, you think of it like that's what happens. But really, it's what we do in between on everything that counts in regards to the experiences. And then today, we're building an orchard out there, and part of me was like, we need to get out there because it's the temperature's getting up today, and I'm going to be out in the sun again. I'm a little bit burnt from yesterday, and we've been out doing all the orchard yesterday, and it's like, should I really do the masterminds, or should I just give it a miss because we're at the farm and we need to get this? And it's like, well, I made a commitment. What's going to be my excuse? And whatever my excuse is, I'm going to be dishonest to self. And if honesty is an important value of mine, it's not about being dishonest to everybody else, which also would impact me, but it's actually being dishonest to self. And something was said on a call last week where we were talking about values, and somebody said most of us have honesty right up there in our top 5, but because that's what we believe should be right in society as well. But who can honestly say that they've always been honest with themselves? And none of us can. Like we've been dishonest multiple times, probably millions of times over the years. And it's not from a place of thinking about this in disempowerment, because that's a choice. Everything's like, okay, well, yeah, I have been. So now I'm aware of that. I can bring that into my conscious and start thinking about where can I start being more honest. And I can assure you right now, as I say, I do. My intention is always to speak my truth. And if I find myself not, I pull myself up about it. This 50 odd minutes that we've been together right now has been so empowering, and is exactly what I needed. Yeah, I would have been out there drilling and putting stuff together, but this has been exactly what I've needed. And I've got another call after this, and I have to say, I'm feeling so empowered right now, for choosing to take that action and not to be dishonest with you, myself, and say, guys, I'm at the farm. I haven't got great internet. Look, let's give it a miss. I needed this today. So I thank each and every one of you for choosing to show up and help me get what I've needed as well.
Thank you, Martin. You are so bloody inspiring. And when you talk, it wouldn't matter what you talk about, because you come from such a pure heart of being those values. I could have just walked into your mastermind and still stayed. Like, anyone that's missing what you're giving energetically and from your truth, they're the ones missing out. They're the ones that aren't conscious. You want the right tribe, the conscious tribe to follow, like to join you, because you want that connection. Because like you said, that connection is what's creating us all to evolve. So you don't want the person that said their comment in your tribe, because not that you can't receive them. You want the right people because you are mirroring that vibration. You want that. That is your true desire, to be equally valued and equally loved, equally accepted, equally seen, equally expressed. That's what I want. That's what we all want in our core of our being. And that's what America even wants, like equality. And you know what I mean? Like it's not just you, but you doing that and stepping up today is creating the ripple effect of that with our little group today. When we all come together, we're doing it together, and you're still receiving it individually, but it's also a ripple effect out all through Mother Nature, the earth, the universe. So I'm grateful you stood up today, because without you standing up, I can't too.
Yeah, powerful.
And,
that one.
And even with us four here, it's only four of us, I think. Us four, like, our conversation got us all to stand up and own our uniqueness, show up, action our uniqueness, express our uniqueness, and still come together in unity. And that's the true power of connection.
Yeah.
And now you get to take that to the next group, energetically being that. Like, that's a gift to the next group, even though we don't know them like you do, but I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that'll affect the next group, but it affected me in this group. And I can only imagine that'll be a ripple effect like that for the rest of your day.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you, Kelly. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So I got my notebook.
Say, am I?
I got my notebook. So I wrote down the things that you were talking about, because one, you were talking and then you started and then you said something else and I was like, oh, I got a point for that. And then you said something else and I was like, oh, I have a point for that. And there's something that you said right before I got my notebook and I lost that. So I had another point, but I don't know where it went. But the first thing that I kind of thought about was when you were talking about the journey, right? And you know, I've been in this cast for, what is this, like 6 weeks now, right? So I remember when it first happened, and the first thing I kind of thought to myself was, you know, I need to slow down. Like, God told me, I think a couple weeks ago, to slow down, right? I got a sign and I ignored it, act like I didn't hear it. I'm like, nah, we're not gonna do that. And he was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I want you to move this box really quickly and I want you to hurt yourself, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And I need you to sit down. Right. So like the just that piece of me being aware of how fast I was really living my life, and not to say that I was living it recklessly. I was doing things that I wanted to do. But even, earlier I was speaking with one of my clients and I was talking to her about, being in college and me graduating, like I said, in 3 years. I sped through it. Like, I did everything that I could in those 3 years to graduate. Like, I wasn't out, really living my life. And not to say that I wanted to be partying or doing whatever, but I was always focused on work in school. Like, that is it. There was nothing that came between that. And, I look at myself now and I'm like, wow, I really sped through, what they say is, a really nice time of your life. I don't know. Whatever. But I really sped through it, and I've gone through my life really, speeding through things. Even with when I was little, we had, the math test where you had to see how many you could do in a certain amount of time. Like, I was always trying to do all of them as quick as possible, like always trying to get things done as fast as possible, and not really enjoying, the process in getting those things done. And now being able to kind of look at, having the awareness expanding and looking at myself in a different light, I take it very seriously to be patient with myself and to slow down and to just be in the moment. Like, I've always been a futuristic person. Like, I'm a planner, planning. But, getting into this material that I'm into now, it's made me realize how important the moment that you have is, right? Because you can't really, the past is gone, the future's not here. All you have is right now. So be focused on something other than right now, right? You're not giving yourself the opportunity to love where you're at currently. So that's what I kind of thought about when you're talking about the journey. And then you were also talking about how you take like the scenic route when you're going a certain place. And I thought about previous to, I don't know, I feel like I thought about this earlier, but a couple of months ago, before I really got into this material, I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta's like, traffic in Atlanta is ridiculous. Like, I don't know, it doesn't matter what time it is. There's traffic at all times. There's always at least 2 or 3 accidents you're going to see to one destination. Like, there's a lot going on. And I always remembered, like, making sure I didn't leave the house, like, at certain times so I didn't have to be in it. And if I wasn't, I was irritated or I was angry, you know, like, oh, now I have to sit in traffic. And it seems like now, I feel like I leave the house so much more and there's no traffic. And then I don't feel like I'm in traffic, right? So I'm just experiencing, you know, just being wherever I'm at and not focused on, well, now I have to, you know, it's going to take me 37 minutes to get to my destination rather than 30. Like, sis, you're going to get there, right? Just be in the moment. Listen to another song that you like. Boom, that's perfect. Now you got a time for 2 more songs, right? So that, you know, that stood out to me as well. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I found a quote recently when you're talking about Martin, how we didn't know all these things and then we learned them, right? And I found a quote about failure. And it was that failure is the inevitable result of trying something new. And that really shifted my paradigm. Like, that really shifted how I think about failure. Because I feel like as kids, we're not really taught about failure. No, we're not taught that, you know, failure is a part of success. Like, if you want to succeed, you're going to fail. It's inevitable, right? But to have that quote, like, failure is the inevitable result of trying something new, we expect to do everything 100% right out of the gate. Like, immediately, I need to be a perfectionist at this, but you don't know it. So how can you expect to do, you know, like, how can you expect not to fail, right? So just that quote's really been kind of sticking with me throughout these last few days that I thought about it. Like, failure is the inevitable result of trying something new. Like, there is no, you have to fail. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You know, if you did, it's not something new. That's something you already know how to do, right? Yeah. So just those 3 points right there that I wrote down in my notebook, so I didn't forget them.
Yeah, that's awesome, Maya. And I can, you know, like, I love that quote that you just brought up as well there. It's failure is inevitable. It's the inevitable result of trying something new. And when I started doing these calls, I created all this, like, 10-minute, 15-minute presentation on a certain topic, and I knew I wanted it, and I wanted it was going to be 4, you got 4, and then 4 free, like, mastermind, so to speak, around, from memory, what did they have? Core values, goal setting, daily habits, and accountability. And once you did those 4, then it repeated and went back through. And there's nothing wrong with going back stuff, because these things are always changing and it's new people coming on. But I was trying different things. And I had people who came on and they were really excited to come on, and they just really like, oh, I don't resonate with this, or I've already done this, I don't want to do it again, and there's no point in me spending an hour on this. Yeah, I'm doing it every week. Like, so I'm still doing it every week. But I also started to feel, well, what does it feel like for me? I've kind of created this from a point of what I feel people will want and to give them value. But what I was finding was the conversations just started flowing. Topics were just coming up. Thank you. And the big thing for me there was that I just went, why don't I just let go? Like, the thing of let go and let God. I just let go, and I'll come on with a topic. But if somebody comes on and says, do you know what, Martin, this is what's been going on in my life, and I'd really love to mastermind around it and get other people's opinions and just some kind of level of support, or just to be heard, you know, especially with people who, and I truly hope the intention is this, and I truly hope people feel it. I'm in no control of what people feel, but this is the intention, is that it's a safe space. It's a judgment-free zone. We hold space for people, and we respect people as to where they're at, what their experience has been, what their opinions might be. So that was always the intention. And since I've let go, I found that the energy within the group, the value of the calls has risen greatly. And people have been far more open. Instead of talking surface stuff, they've been far more open to sharing things. And that's helped us build relationships with each other, because this isn't the Martin Ball show. This is truly our call. It's like, you know, you're going on holiday and you get on the airplane and you're going to the destination that you want to go to and have that time, whether it be with family, friends, or just time for yourself. you need the pilot to get that plane off the ground. So for me, I've just viewed it as I'm the pilot who's just showing up today to help people get to wherever they want to get to. And I'm going to get to where I'm going to get to as well. And letting go and just trusting that it's always going to go has been one of the most empowering things. So when I've spoken to people who came on in the early stages and said, look, you may not have resonated with what happened, or what I did back then, but at the end of the day, I was trialing something new. Now, where it is right now, it is perfect for me, and I get so much more value than when I started it, but it was still part of the growth. Now, if you want to come and see what it's like and it doesn't resonate with you, that's cool. But just know that the door's always open, and you're going to be at some point in your life when you step into this, and you might come on a call. I mean, you know, Albert respectfully has been quiet today, but he said at the beginning, I'm a listener and I'd rather just sit there and listen. That's fine. There's no expectation. But the door's always open for people to step forward and speak whenever they choose to, but also go away and go, well, what is the one thing? Hence why I do the 3 takeaways, and I encourage everyone to post them in the group. But what is the one thing that I can take away from this time that I committed to today to learn from the others, and I can implement, or I can certainly reflect on in my life and go, do you know what? That probably happened because I needed this to understand this. Or as you said then, Maya, all I've got is this present moment. So when we talk about goal setting and visualizing, we can put that there, but what are we doing in this present moment for that to become a reality for us? Because there's no point me thinking about what I'm going to do next week, because all I can do is what I can do today. The goal is there, but at the end of the day, and that's one of the things that I love about in regards to the Noble Goldman thing, where they got the abundance game. Because the abundance game allows me to put my goals in and my visualizations and my affirmations. And then I can check in every day and I actually put in what I've done towards that goal. And because I'm a visual learner, as I said earlier, because I can see the graph, I then go in and go, okay, well, my productivity for this area is through the roof, but my study is really low. Now, I'm not saying it should all be equal and perfect balance, but then I can look and go, well, if my personal growth is important to me, and I'm not saying that I'm not growing through my actions, but if my personal growth is important to me, then what am I actioning from that study element? Or in regards to am I doing my study, or am I that busy actioning what I learned from that chapter that I can look on it and reflect and go, you are absolutely in flow right now. Because I've said this often, I'm not in my house, so I haven't gone, but I've said this often. Most people who I've spoken to, the goal with a book is to finish it. My goal is to implement each chapter and actually connect to it spiritually, emotionally, physically, actually absorb every single part of it to then go, I understand 100%, not appreciate it. I understand what was being said in that chapter. And that's been a big thing that's helped me in particular achieve my goals far quicker at a greater level, because I've got that accountability. And when many of us are looking for accountability buddies and, I let myself go, that check-in at the end of each day and go, and if I've missed it, I go and go, why did I miss it? And I'll go, and I say to myself, because you actually had 2 days on the farm building the orchard. It wasn't doing what your goals were, but in all fairness, it was one of my goals to connect in nature and take time out. So I can look back and I can go, there's nothing tracked in there, but that was because I spent time on the farm. Wow, self-love. Like, so powerful.
Yes, I love that. Self-love and the farm, to me, like I used to live on a dairy farm when I was a young kid. But to me, when I hear you say the word farm, like you said it on that weekend seminar as well, whenever you said the word farm, I could feel your connection to Mother Nature. Every time you say that word, that's how mastered you enjoy being on the farm.
Yeah.
in your body. So it comes out in your tone of voice, and it hits me every time you say it. It's only one word, but on the weekend you said it. And the same thing happened just then when you said the word.
Yeah.
That's what mastery is, our embodiment of our internal, eternal joy in all of our experiences while we're in this physical body.
Yeah, wow. Beautiful, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's this is one of the things that I really love about the calls. And even whenever I take the time, and I encourage you to do this if you don't do it, is to go back and watch, like whether it be this or whenever you're doing a Facebook Live or anything, because a lot of the stuff that is literally coming through us, it's within us, but it's not, scripted. It's just flowing. And even at the weekend when I was getting some of the videos off after it'd been recorded, I was getting some of the videos off onto my computer off the SD card. Excuse me a moment. It's 10:10 here, so thank the angels. And and I just happened to listen to a section to see if the audio was okay, because we had an issue with the audio on day one. And I was just stood there and going, wow, it's the little things for me. So I often talk about the 1%ers. It was like you said there, Callie, and this is me being humble. It was the way that I showed up. It was the way that I was moving, the way that I was speaking without just like blah, 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 and then pausing. And that's how I found myself. But it was the ability to look back to where I started and where I was, and go, wow, look at your growth. And all you're doing is being present in that moment. Like there were slides there to make sure that I stepped to my time frame, because I can talk all day long. But it was, and I'm visual, so I want people to see what I'm talking about as well. But it was that just in flow. And I feel like that's when you're at your truest self, when we do let go and just, this is it. Instead of, what do they want to see? How should I be for them? No, this is me. This is it. In this moment, it gets better every day, but this is it. This is the best version of myself right now.
And can I just add, that reminds me back to food and the 3 desires, or the desires at the start. Because if you have that feeling in every food choice you make, and every action you take, and every communication you have with any human being you meet, animal, plant, or human kingdom, and exactly what you're saying, like if you bring all of you in all of those relationships, then what are you experiencing on the earth while you're in this physical body?
100%. Yeah, powerful. Well, I am gonna have to wrap this up. I do believe it's late where you guys are as well, Albert and Maya. But I've got this other call, and even though I want to keep going, I am going to have to wrap it up. But thank you so much to each of you for choosing to show up as well and share. Even you being in particular, Albert, just being here, the energy, mate, is fantastic. So please, from my side, and I'm confident to speak on behalf of the ladies, there's no expectation. It's just great to have you with us. And that if there is anything you want to share, please feel free to. And I've had a great time. I've got exactly what I needed to help fill my cup. So thank you to each and every one of you. I didn't come on here to take from you. It's just what I was willing to receive. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It's good to be able to sit in again. Like I say, I've been having trouble with my internet and whatever else. I'm glad I got that ironed out, and I'm hoping to catch in a few more of these in the future. And I did enjoy the listen tonight. There's a lot of good topics spoken about, and a few things like you talked about the journey and this taking the scenic route. While you're speaking of the journey, it reminded me of a poem I seen a while back, and another fellow brought it up. Excuse me, in meeting I was at, and it was the Dash. It was called. I don't know if you've heard it. But it refers to your headstone. He says there's 2 dates on your headstone: the day you're born and the day you die. You have no say in that, but you have say in the dash in between, and what you do in your life is what's filled in on that dash is just the gist of the poem. And I always thought it was a good one.
That's a powerful one, Albert. Yeah, yeah. That's going to stick with me. I've actually written it down as well, so that's going to stick with me. What am I doing? What's my dash going to read? What's my dash going to be all about? Thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you once again. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. For those of you who can, we've got our call tomorrow evening, which is approximately another 7 hours away from now. So I don't know what time it would be over in America and Canada, but another 7 hours from now would be our call tomorrow evening for my time. So go and have yourselves a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon.
Thank you, Martin. That was amazing.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Good night to all of you.
Bye.